Every long-running show has a character who was never supposed to survive their own introduction. Seto Kaiba was written as a wall. The arrogant rival you beat in the first arc so the hero can prove he's ready. And instead he became the second most important person in the series. So the question worth asking, before anything else, is this: at what exact point did Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters stop treating Kaiba as an antagonist? Not when did he become likable, not when did he become popular, but when did the show itself flip the switch? The answer, I'd argue, is a duel he wins. Episode 23, on a rooftop, in the middle of the Duelist Kingdom arc, roughly a quarter of the way into the series, and the reason it works is that winning is precisely what breaks him. But to see why that moment lands, you have to understand exactly what kind of person is standing on that roof. Because the Kaiba of the first 20 episodes is not a rival. He's a genuine villain, and the show is not subtle about it. In the opening episode of the series, he arrives at a game shop, sees an old man in possession of a blue-eyes white dragon, and does everything short of assault to take it from him. And when he loses, the fallout puts Solomon Muto in a hospital bed. He tears up a card an old man treasured because the card's value to Kaiba was in it not existing anywhere else. That's not competitiveness. That's a worldview. Kaiba doesn't want to be the best duelist so much as he wants to be the only one, and the fastest route to being the only one is to make sure everyone else has less. This comes from somewhere. Kaiba isn't a Kaiba by birth. He and Mokuba were orphans, and Seto engineered their adoption by Gozaburo Kaiba, a weapons manufacturer, by beating him at chess in public and turning the man's own ego into a trap. What he got in exchange was an education designed to strip the childhood out of him. Gozaburo raised him on a single lesson: attachment is a liability, mercy is a design flaw, and the only relationship that means anything is the one between a winner and everyone standing beneath him. Kaiba learned it perfectly. He learned it so well that he used it to take Kaiba Corp away from Gozaburo before he was old enough to drive. So when Kaiba brutalizes an old man over a piece of cardboard, he's not being random, he's applying a system. And that system has exactly one exception carved into it, Mokuba, which is the crack the entire arc eventually widens. Now, the rooftop. By the time we reach episodes 22 and 23, Face Off, parts 1 and 2 in the dub, Kaiba has already lost everything that made his philosophy feel true. Pegasus has taken Kaiba Corp out from under him with the help of Kaiba's own board of executives and has sealed Mokuba's soul into a card. Kaiba is not the most powerful man in the room anymore. He's a man being handed conditions. And the condition Pegasus sets is that Kaiba has to defeat Yugi before he's allowed to duel for his brother. So Kaiba blocks the castle door and challenges Yugi. And when the duel starts slipping, when Yugi's monsters are lined up and one attack ends it, Kaiba climbs onto the ledge of the castle wall and puts his back to a very long drop. His argument is simple and it is disgusting in its elegance. Attack my monster, and the shockwave takes me with it. He isn't bluffing about the stakes. He's betting his life on the certainty that Yugi cannot pay the price of winning, and he's right. The spirit sharing Yugi's body, the Pharaoh, the one who has been happily dispensing Shadow Game punishments to anyone who deserves it, is entirely prepared to make that attack. What stops him is Yugi himself, the actual boy who refuses. The attack doesn't come. Kaiba takes the duel, takes the star chips, walks into the castle, and leaves Yugi kneeling on the roof in a kind of shock that has nothing to do with losing a card game. This is the hinge. Not because Kaiba feels guilty. He doesn't, not yet, not visibly. It's the hinge because Kaiba has just run his own philosophy as an experiment, in public, with his life as collateral, and the results come back wrong. Watch what actually happens next. Kaiba goes on to face Pegasus with everything he has, his dragons, his machines, his intellect, and he is dismantled. Pegasus reads his mind, turns his cards into jokes, and takes his soul, exactly as he took Mokuba's. Kaiba's method, the one that had just worked flawlessly against Yugi, is worth nothing against a man who is simply better positioned. And then the boy he humiliated, the boy whose weakness he exploited, walks into the same room and wins. Kaiba's soul comes back to his body because Yugi refused to become the kind of person Kaiba is. That's the argument the show is making, and it's important that it's an argument and not a hug. Kaiba's not moved by friendship. He is moved by evidence. He has spent his life operating on a model of the world. Power is everything. Bonds are dead weight. The person who will do the unthinkable always beats the person who won't. And he watches that model get falsified in front of him twice in the space of a few episodes. First, Yugi's restraint doesn't destroy him. Second, Kaiba's ruthlessness doesn't save him. For a mind like Kaiba's, that's more devastating than any lecture because he cannot dismiss it as sentimentality. It's data, which is why his turn doesn't look like remorse. He never apologizes. He'll spend the rest of the series calling Yugi's friends fools and rolling his eyes at every mention of destiny. What actually changes is subtler and more interesting. Kaiba stops treating other people as material. There are no more hostages, no more torn-up cards, no more staged deaths on rooftops. When he builds Battle City, he builds a tournament with rules he abides by even when they cost him. He's still arrogant. He's simply no longer willing to win by making someone else pay for it. And if you want the moment where the show confirms the change and gives Kaiba a philosophy to replace the one Gozaburo installed, it's episodes 93 and 94, his Battle City duel with Ishizu Ishtar. Ishizu wields the Millennium Necklace. She has seen the end of the duel, and in that ending Kaiba loses. She tells him so repeatedly, as a matter of settled fact. And Kaiba, a man who has just watched his own inevitable defeat described in advance, sacrifices Obelisk the Tormentor, the god card he built an entire tournament to acquire, to summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon instead, and rewrites the outcome she saw. That is the thesis of his entire character in one move. Kaiba's position isn't that he's a good person. It's that nothing has the right to determine what he becomes. Not a prophecy. Not a 5,000-year-old past he refuses to acknowledge. And this is the part that matters, not Gozaburo. If destiny doesn't own him, then neither does the man who raised him to be cruel. The freedom he keeps shouting about is the same freedom that lets him stop being a villain, because it means the version of himself he was handed as a child was never the only one available. So, when did Kaiba turn? The honest answer is that he doesn't flip. He fractures on that rooftop in episode 23 and slowly rebuilds along the crack. But if you need one frame to point at the one where he's standing on the ledge with his arms out, absolutely certain he's found the bottom of Yugi's character. And Yugi refuses to be what Kaiba needs him to be. Kaiba walks off that roof holding a victory he can't use. And by the end of the arc, he owes his life to the exact quality he tried to weaponize. He never says thank you. He never has to. He spends the next 200 episodes proving it instead, one impossible dragon at a time.